Hey everybody, Adam here at Memphis Wood Fire Grills. Today I want to talk to you about the auger system in our grills. Sometimes we get questions from customers that are having temperature control issues or the grill's not performing the way that it should. And of course, one of the key things is the fuel. So let's talk a little bit about that. This is something that could answer the question about if something's going wrong. Is it air? Is it fuel? Is it heat? Those are the three elements, right? So let's talk about that fuel piece. One of the great benefits of the Memphis product is the first thing we can do to check that the auger is working properly is go to our diagnostics menu. If you hit start grilling and you go to your splash screen, when you get to the home screen here, you're going to hit settings, diagnostics, and then up at the very top, the very first button is going to be the Auger Test. If you press that and turn it on, right, what's happening right now is it says 1.32 RPM. And so it's testing that auger motor. If you're full of pellets, if the hopper is full of pellets, you're probably hearing pellets tinging down into the fire pot right now because it's testing it to make sure it works. Mine passed the test, 1.32 RPMs. So if you did not hear pellets dropping, then we got to keep digging in deeper. From there, the next thing I want to talk about is the auger itself. First off, check to make sure that the hopper's full of pellets, right? That's maybe a little obvious one, but you'd be surprised how many times we hear from people that I forgot to fill one side of the hopper or I didn't fill at all. So let me turn this around. So if you verified that you've got both sides of your hopper full of good pellets, they've got to be clean and dry. If you get water that gets in here, they could expand and then they could compact together. So make sure your pellets are good. If you do see pellets in there on the top that are expanded or dust, that's a sign that water got in there. And the best thing you can do is vacuum that out and start over. Make sure as you look way down into the bottom, into the splines of the auger, that you've got good pellets in there. So if you did not hear pellets dropping down when you tested the auger motor, one thing that might happen right out of the bat is the shear pin. So if you look right here, this is the auger motor. And right here, you can see this cotter pin hanging off of the pin. This right here is the shear pin. Now this is designed to save this motor in the event your auger gets locked up. So what happens is if the auger is locked up from bad pellets or for some other reason, this pin is going to shear off before it wrecks this motor. And so if you don't see a pin here, if you see this laying in the bottom, then there's something wrong in here that caused that auger to bind up and shear that pin. Now you're going to go back through, you're going to have to look down in here and see, can you see anything? Vacuum it out completely. The next thing you're going to want to do, if that's all cleaned out and you have not figured out what the root cause of this is, if this shear pin is broke, you need to get a new one. Give us a call at technical service. We can get you set up with a new shear pin. But we've also got to figure out why did that pin shear, and it has something to do with this auger. So the next step from there, just grab a quick screwdriver right here. And if you look right here, you've got two screws right here. The way this system works is when you fill up both sides of the pellet bin, the auger drives those pellets so you can see the profile of the hopper. Those pellets are falling down this way into the center. And I'm going to open this up. This is the pellet chute. So what you're looking at here, this is the center of the auger itself. And so if you look up this way and you look up this way, you can see the splines from the auger, so that as those pellets fall down, they get into those splines and then they move this way. And they just are going to fall out of here into this, the pellet ramp here. And they're going to go down the pellet ramp into the burn pot. If this has a jam in it, if this is jammed up and things are tight in here, we've got to get the jams out of the splines. And so what we're going to do there, we're going to go up on the top here. If you open this finger guard has two screws, one on each end. If you remove those, and again, of course, make sure your power's off. You're going to remove this. It's going to open up this whole hopper area here. Most of the time, you can just kind of get a screwdriver, get something to break those free, suck them out with a vacuum. If that doesn't do the job, you can remove 2 screws down here. It's going to be these 2 outer screws, and when you remove those, the divider in the hopper here comes out. So now if you look down in there, you got the full width of the splines of the auger, and you can clean those out pretty easy from there. Next, if you come back down here and look again at our shear pin, you can remove this shear pin. Here's the cotter key, and I'm going to take this shear pin out of here, and this motor just comes right off, okay? And so when that's done, you can actually grab this and spin it. And you can look down in from the top and see that it's spinning freely. That's what you want. If you do need to replace this auger motor for any reason, all you're going to do is remove that shear pin, make sure the grill is unplugged, follow the wire down through the harness over to the logic board, unplug it, get the new one, put it back on here. You may need to rotate the auger to make the holes line up, but then all you're going to do is put this shear pin back in there, put the cotter key back through, run your wire back over to your logic board, plug it back in. From there, you're going to want to make sure you put your pellet ramp back in, tighten the screws down, put your divider back in, reverse of what I showed you taking it out. And of course, you want to make sure your finger guard is put back in there at the end. Okay, I've gone ahead and put the divider back in. I put the finger guard back in place and secured those. I'm going to close this. One important thing, when you're putting the pellet chute back through, you've got to kind of tip it up to get it to go in properly. And then you're just going to go ahead and put those screws back in. Make sure you put both of them back in. And then over here, I went ahead and reattached our auger. Again, it's just putting the shear pin through, putting the cotter key through, and then you're going to go ahead and make sure that it's plugged back into the logic board. From there, you've replaced almost everything or checked for your jams. You should have found it somewhere in there. You're ready to grill.